Hello and welcome to Marketing 301 Week 4 Overview. This will be a very brief video that outlines the major concepts and upcoming project for this week. Again, looking at our required text, advertising, media, and planning, there is within Chapter 2 a full articulation of a media plan. Each of your individual assignments will correspond to just one part of each section of Chapter 2. So use that as your guide and your mentor or exemplar media plan. This week's discussion will also help you get ready for your first individual project assignment where you're creating media objectives and your competitive analysis. The discussion asks you to look for and post examples of different ad campaigns across any media. Could be television, radio, internet, whatever it is you can find. You can use screenshots or links and then analyze the ad. What you want to be looking for is what strategies do you think are being employed by the company that is putting out this ad? What are their objectives? Who are they trying to reach? Do you think this is effective? And or why not is it seem to be working to you? What measures, based on the medium that you've selected, might the client or agency be able to pull upon to evaluate whether the ad itself was successful? And what were competitors doing? What are the major industries competing with the product or brand that you've selected? And what might be their take on advertising and media placement? And then finally, the question I've already asked again, do you feel like the success of the campaign was due to its creativity, or more specifically, was it a successful ad placement? Those are two different questions. So you can then again, the idea here, you can have a very creative campaign, but if it doesn't have a very specific placement based off of the marketing objectives or to solve the marketing problem you're trying to address throughout the campaign, then no matter how creative it might be, it can still fall flat. So why are these campaigns you've selected successful? Why are the ad placement that you are looking at seem to be effective or not? That's the basis of your discussion for the week, and seeing how other classmates analyze these types of ads will help you get the brain power and fuel you need to know how to analyze what you're going to be doing for your own individual project. It's going to be the same types of questions you ask yourself for your individual project number one. Also, Chapter 6 really begins with the questions clients are needing to ask to create their creative brief that you've just all worked together to create, or will be about to, hopefully. What are the marketing problems to be solved? All of the media plan needs to come from the marketing plan, which is presented in the creative brief from the client. So the client will submit the creative brief to the media planner with some of these questions pretty much fully answered. There will be gaps, so a media planner's job would be to identify those gaps and through consultation and working with the client begin to fill in the gaps. But you really need to use the marketing mix as your tool to understand what marketing problems need to be solved. So you may be looking to have a marketing objective where you're increasing market share, but it all comes down to, is the product meeting consumers' expectations? Is it connecting with your target audience? Is it the right price? Is it being promoted properly? Is it positioned or distributed to be able to reach them? Those 4 P's that you have been looking at all along are still valid and still form the basis of what it is you need to be really using as an analytical tool to drive your campaign. And then you can also look at competitors' ads and or data that exists to see what they're up to. That'll help inform you in different ways of knowing how to go about positioning your product. And you do this through identifying opportunities. The SWOT analysis is a tool. The strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats are all things that you are going to gather information about either through looking at ads or your own company or client's data that's presented to you as a media planner, or even analyzing ad placement and current advertising. All of these things work together to help you really see what are your opportunities to create your not only marketing objectives but also your media objectives. The marketing objectives will most often be articulated by the client, and they are simple as increasing market share or increasing awareness among the target audience, or those types of questions. The media planner will then take all of that information that is given to them in the creative brief and also through their own research and begin to set media objectives. Before media objectives are set, though, you want to really make sure you do a complete competitive analysis as a media planner, and you're specifically looking at your client's competitors' media presence. How are they using media to promote their own products? And what are some of the things you're looking for? They're listed here to the left. They're explained in much more detail in Chapter 6, but is there regionality or seasonality? So does the certain brand that you're representing in your campaign, what are some similarities and differences that may have regionalism or seasonality as an issue? So certain products that are sold in certain parts of the country can only be sold at certain times of year, or maybe your brand does better in the Southeast for some reason. Why would that be? And what might be an opportunity to capitalize on that in your media objectives be? Then there's the M's. The second category here is what type of money are competitors spending on their ad campaigns? What is the media mix they're using? So is it traditional and online, and what's the percentage variation there? And also, what market do they seem to be going after in their ad placement? You can look at this through many data points, which are available for a fee. For this course, and I'll repeat this again later, I don't want you to be spending money on buying any data from any of the many sources that sell data. Look for what is free and available either through the publication of trade or industry magazines and or the companies themselves oftentimes release information, historical information especially, that helps their investors and or people who are interested in knowing how their company is performing. Some of these reports that are issued are made public. So the industries selected for this course, sports apparel and fast food or quick food service, will have much and many different ways to access free data. And at the end of the day, you can also even just look at competitors' ads and ad placement and do your own analysis and come up with some ballpark ideas about it. I won't be correcting anybody for making educated guesses based off of doing an analysis of actual ad placement, but do your best to find as much data as you can that exists for free. Also, the competition target audience and their brand profile. How are they presenting their brand or their product to what type of target audience? You can discern those things by looking at how they're not only creating their ads, but also how they're placing their ads. And also, how is your competition flighting, or what types of patterns do they use? You might be able to discern some information about either of those things as well. And then finally, what seems to be successful, both on the product and also brand level. If you can't find specific data on those things, analyzing again the campaign by your client's competitors can help you come up with some very educated guesses. And so the brain work that I want you to do for this course is the analytical work. So sometimes finding too much data sort of short circuits the process and thinking through these things that I would like you all to engage in. So there will not be sweeping judgments made by me as to valuing some people's work with a huge amount of data sources. I'd rather see your analysis come through, and what you use to support that should be multiple sources. So don't just rely on one source, rely on many sources. And then what you're going to be doing is really looking at not only historical information that exists for free online through many different sources, but also competitive data, different data sources are available that are going to be reporting on information for free. Like industry level information is often available and accessible. You might even have access to Census Bureau data, which is made free and part of the public domain. And also, again, going back to what I've said already a few times, you're looking at the actual ad campaigns themselves and seeing what's out there in the public and discerning what the strategies are from that is definitely something that you should be doing. So again, I will repeat for this course, be familiar with industry sources. There's many listed within Chapter 6. If you're working in the industry, you should be definitely aware with what Nielsen and Kantar companies offer, along with many other different industry sources that are industry-specific sources. But you do want to, again, look for free data. The course week 4 discussion here is also setting you up for sort of getting an idea of what your classmates look at and how they analyze things. So really paying attention to the class discussion this week will help you really get your analytical hat on here as well. And again, do not pay for any data. Please do not. You're not expected to pay for anything to successfully complete the coursework herein. So again, your client, each of you is going to serve as a media planner or an agency rep, same thing, for all of your individual projects. So the first one will be for you to create a media objective and a competitive analysis. You're going to really begin your journey with your individual work by looking at your client's creative brief. So everybody in the course is also part of a group which is aligned to a specific company in which you created with your group a creative brief. Each of these creative briefs were randomly assigned to 4 of your classmates to do all of their individual work around, where instead of being the client, now they're going to be the media planner or agency rep. So every one of you will wear both hats. You'll be on the client side with your group, and then you'll be on the agency side or the media planner side as you do your individual work. You will be assigned a company that is the other industry from which your group is working. So if you are working in fast food for your creative brief or your client group work, then you will be working in sports apparel for your individual work. The other idea here is that you're not going to be doing your individual project as a group. So everyone in your current group that you did your creative brief with will be working on a different company. Although since there are 6 different companies and 24 students, there will be 2 people within each group that have the same client. So you may help each other in those cases, or you may also realize that the client groups, as part of this course, are going to be selecting who they feel their favorite media planner is based off of the work that is submitted, and that person that they award the contract to or the campaign to for the media ad placement will win extra credit points to be added to their overall course grade. So keep that in mind. I don't mind you helping each other, and I also think some competition is healthy, but be kind to each other and professional always, regardless of how you work with others. It may, again, the creative briefs that you receive from your clients as media planners may have gaps. You may not see the information that you feel you need to create those objectives and do the competitor analysis, and it would be your job to help your client fill in those gaps. And there will be some back and forth, not only in weekly discussions in this course, but your client group will actually give you some written feedback in the form of plus delta, some things that worked really well for them with the plans you've submitted and things that you would need to focus on in order to garner their favor in upcoming iterations of your plan that will be submitted to them as the course goes on. So the way you interact back and forth is up to you. You can message the group if you want. You can engage with them online with the weekly discussions, and or you can just take their notes from when they give feedback in a form and incorporate that into revising your plan moving forward. That's another way to show that you're listening and that you're taking their feedback in. So again, the creative brief should give you some direction with the marketing strategy and should have an identified marketing problem to solve. And this is really where you as a media planner will jump forward with really figuring out, well, how then would you execute a media plan around these marketing strategies? That brings us to your first step, individual project number 1. You're going to create just the first pieces of the media plan, which are the media objectives and competitive analysis. You should do, the hint here over to the right, you should do your competitive analysis first before you create the objectives. But in your actual media plan, your objectives would always come before that, because your objectives are really going to then be rationalized through your analysis. Your competitive analysis is your argumentation for why you selected the media objectives you selected. So you first need to let people know what your objectives are when they're reading your plan, and then your analysis will explain this is why you came to those objectives. In real life, you're actually going to do the analysis first before you create the objectives. So just make sure that that's clear before you begin. You have several different sources that will help you complete your individual project number 1. You can use the actual project articulation itself, which is in your weekly checklist. This week's class discussion, as I've referenced before, will help you really with the type of analysis you need to be engaging in to complete and create your objectives. You can analyze existing ad campaigns as well that are not only from your competitor themselves, but also your client themselves, but also their competitors. Ad campaigns will have a lot of information in them themselves that'll be very obvious, hopefully, that how they're profiling their brand and what target audience they're reaching for may inform an opportunity space that you want to capitalize on for your client. And again, pages 29 through 34, those are the relevant pages in chapter 2 that show you in more detail what this section of a media plan would look like, or these sections, which is the media objective and the competitive analysis. And chapter 6 itself goes into much more detail. Just be mindful that the first several sections of chapter 6 are really the thinking that the client groups have already engaged in when they've created their creative brief, and so then that will really be for you to work your way into creating that analysis of the competitor's use of media and also then creating your media objectives from there. This was super fast. If you have any questions, please message me on Canvas, email me at rex.babish@bellevuecollege.edu, or call me at 240-394-1248. Thank you.